Yes.
Reverend Rich, it's interesting to me whether you use the word Kundalini, which is a specific expression of the power that lives within us, right? Ernest Holmes says there's a power greater than we are, and we can use it. And there's one manifestation of the power. So whether you call it God, whether you call it spirit, whether you don't like those words, there's something that lives within us, right? And that's why we're here. We're here because that power called us. You wouldn't have gotten up on a Sunday morning and come down to River Road in Princeton if something inside of you didn't say, there's more. There's more. And so I thought this morning I wanted to talk about more and more and more, right? We sometimes call it abundance. Not a different thing. The same thing. This idea that this whole universe is one. And it manifests as power, and it manifests as love, and whether you call it peace, whether you call it joy, it's really the same thing, filtered through our consciousness. So I want to start off with us doing an affirmation for abundance, which I've given out for those who are here. It may be familiar. It's a thing that we used to do often, actually, but it's a wonderful affirmation. I haven't heard us do it for a while, and I thought I wanted us to do it together. But I wanted to start, whether you're at home or you're physically here. So right now, we have a group of people who came here and brought that power, that Kundalini, that love in the version of whoever they are. Right? So take a moment and be aware of what's in the room. And if you're at home, you're part of this room. Be aware of that power. Listen for it. Pay attention to it. Just tune into it. And from that place, we're going to read this affirmation for abundance. I'll just point out in the first line, it says your name. You just say your name there instead of that, right? Okay. So let's just do it together. While we're doing it, stay tuned into the energy. Stay tuned into the divine that's present, the Kundalini that's present. I, John, live in a world that is forever filled with God's abundance. I now claim it as my own. The riches of the universe are mine. I partake of them in wisdom and joy, and participate at a greater level than I have ever imagined possible before. All my affairs are prosperous. Increased good flows to me from all directions and through all people. There is no lack in my consciousness, for I am an expression of God's good. I no longer limit my receptivity of the good all around me. I am no longer affected by the world's opinions, worries, and reactions concerning money and the economy. My finances are healthy, ordered, and prosperous. I am gracious, loving, and generous. I speak this day in terms of good and abundance for myself and others. I expect increased prosperity in my world here and now, for I know that God is active in my life. I give thanks that the riches of God are mine to use, enjoy, and share right now and always. I know this, I celebrate this, and allow it to be so, and so it is. So that's a good one. right? Some of us who have been around in this teaching and this center for a long time remember that we've actually done that as a spiritual practice. One thing you can do is keep this next to your bed, first thing in the morning, pick it up, read it through, right? Do that for 30 days. Watch. Stay aware. See if there's any change in your world, right? The way we used to do it is we used to say, okay, you may find that all of a sudden something appears in your life that you didn't expect. Pay attention to that. Keep track of that. This is how we build our consciousness of abundance. So Ernest Holmes emphasized that abundance is a natural state of the universe. This is something that is really important to me in this teaching, in the practice of this teaching. The natural state of things is unlimited, is abundance. We live in that world. Well, we don't always experience it as unlimited, right? It shall be unto you as you believe. So we experience as much of this as we believe. That there's a door that we open in our heart, right? If you open the door wider, more gets in. So let's talk about this a little bit. So Ernest Holmes says, thoughts of lack manifest as limitation, while thoughts of abundance manifest as success and happiness. Spiritual substance is forever flowing. And that as we conceive and believe in abundance, the universe handles the details. I love that piece. The universe handles the details. You don't need to worry about that stuff, right? Your responsibility is your consciousness, right? One of the things about this teaching, a couple of weeks ago, I was down at Unity Village near Kansas City, Missouri, because we moved the Science of Mind archives, our history, were moved to that Unity Village, right? And so a bunch of us were talking about, what does that mean? The universe, spiritual substance is forever flowing and the universe handles the details. Those archives are a record of people like us who took this teaching and practiced it. And then they wrote books or they wrote different things. And we store those things because that's the history of this particular teaching. And you can go there and read those things, and it's pretty wonderful. And it was interesting to see because there are people, there's a woman, Marilyn Leo, who grew up in the house next to Ernest Holmes and knew him, right? And it brings up all these attitudes about different things and questions about things. But the bottom line is, the reason why that's important is that each one of us needs to build our consciousness. And that's what spiritual practice is about. That's why it is so important to build yourself a set of spiritual practices that you can trust. So you get up in the morning or whenever you do it, and you sit down someplace for as long as you're able and do some kind of spiritual practice. Build your consciousness. Open the door a little wider. And as you open up the door a little wider, the universe handles the details, right? So that's this affirmation for abundance. And I memorized this way back when because we used to do it. We tried doing it every day and all of that stuff, and I've done it multiple times. It's a really good one. The value of memorizing it is when I'm out walking the dog, my brain is going all over the place. I go, oh, stop. Let's focus. And I do one of these things that I've memorized in my head. I don't know whether the dog likes it or not, but I like it. So, in How to Use the Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes says this: "It's as though we were dipping up water from a limitless sea. Each day we may use a larger measure, and each day dip up more. The ocean never becomes exhausted. As a matter of fact, everything we dip up will again run back into the ocean, only to take a new form." So Ramakrishna, a great Hindu sage, he used to say, you can't pour a gallon of milk into a quart container because it won't fit, right? So what are we to do? There's unlimited abundance, and we have a quart container. Got to make a bigger container. Now, when I think about it, there are sort of two approaches to making a bigger container, and both of them are part of this teaching. One of them is we build our understanding of what does love mean? What does peace mean? When we use those words and we throw them about, we have a sense of what it means. But we take the time to let our minds focus on it. Let ourselves go deeper with the concepts. Build a bigger container, right? Open the door a little wider. Nothing is changing. It's all there. Right here, right now, always, wherever you are, whenever you are. But you experience as much of it as you open the door to. Right? So spiritual practice is opening the door wider. And I can tell you from experience, and if you speak to other people who have been doing this practice for a long time, we know, okay, so you open the door and the cat comes and brushes against the door and the door closes. You get up one morning and you go, oh my God, where is my brain today? Right? Okay, but you have your spiritual practice. You sit down and you do it. Because the only thing that's changing is moment to moment your own consciousness. And gradually, you build up a larger container, a larger consciousness. And the universe handles the details, right? How does it show up in your life? It shows up what you focus on expands, right? Reverend Karen used to say that a lot. What you focus on expands. So if what you need is more money in your life or a different relationship or all that stuff, yes, you can focus on those things. That's how the universe handles the details. Those are the details. But the bottom line is your consciousness, right? That is your choice. And there's another side to that thought about your consciousness. We probably all heard that wonderful statement by Rumi, the 12th century Sufi mystic. You're not a drop in the ocean, you are the ocean in a drop. Right? We hear that, but there's a really deep truth in there, because I find for myself and what I notice for other people is we have a very small idea of who we are and what we can do. Right? In the face of the chaos of the world, there are times where I glance at the newspaper and I see the latest headline and go, how are we supposed to respond to that? Right? We think of ourselves as being very small, but we're not. We are the ocean in a drop. Everything that's true of the ocean is true of us. Individualized. And that's another side of it. What we bring, each of us as individuals, is extremely important. Each one of us is here in this world to be exactly who we are, not to be somebody else, right? There's that famous quote by Oscar Wilde, be yourself, everybody else is already taken, right? You are here. One way of looking at it that's talked about in our teaching sometimes is that God experiences itself by becoming us. by becoming each one of us. Now, that word God is sometimes a difficult word, and we each have our own concept of what that means. But we, each one of us, is sacred. We are that divine presence in the world. You don't have any job to do other than to be yourself and to be bigger. We aren't small. We are the ocean in a drop. And there's lots that we can do. Our consciousness, Ernest Holmes makes a big point that the higher we take our consciousness, that higher consciousness has a lot more power than the power that we do every day in the world. We don't think of that. We don't know that. We think that when we sit down and meditate, we're withdrawing from the world. No, we're going deeper in the world when we do our spiritual practice. So, I wanted to tell you a story about abundance. And there's a couple of things here. It's funny, even this morning I ran across this. This has got to go into the talk. So we talk about expanding our consciousness. And we're spiritual people, and we meditate on peace and all of that kind of stuff. All of these thoughts of abundance work on every level of our consciousness. They work in the world, in the real world around us, right? We want money. I want to be comfortable. I want my little family at home is important to me. I want us to be comfortable. I want David to have a good life. I want the dog to have a good life, right? Right? That's important. Okay, so I'm spiritual, sitting and meditating. That's also important. And I also recognize that raising my consciousness, that expanding my consciousness, opening the door a little wider, is important. So it's all important at every level. And Ernest Holmes says this. I came across this and I thought, this is a good way of saying it. This will in no way exclude the acquirement of things. For everything that gives us happiness is right. Everything that gives joy is in accord with nature. Everything that produces loveliness, peace, and contentment must belong to the divine kingdom. These things are included in a consciousness of the kingdom, and we should have no hesitation in announcing the accomplishment through law of any legitimate desire. Right? So we treat for a parking place. And then the parking place appears. Or sometimes it doesn't. So we ask a practitioner to help us. We have a health condition. Okay. At the same time, we are aware that who we are has no health condition. In God, there is no health condition, right? And if it's not in the consciousness of the universe, it can't really be in us. We think it is, right? The door is only open that far. We think it is, so we experience that. Do we want to experience something different? We learn how to open the door more widely. That's what the science of mind is about. It's about learning. Abundance. That's abundance. So money is abundance, and so is peace, and so is love. And another point that I think about when we talk about abundance, when we're first learning how to practice this teaching, it's a natural response when things don't show up in your life the way you wanted them to blame yourself. I must be doing wrong. My consciousness must be bad. I must be making a mistake. There's one very clear part of the teaching. Never use this teaching to punish yourself. Love is more powerful than all the rest. Ernest Holmes says that love is the central flame of the universe. The way I think of it, when I catch myself blaming myself for stuff, Have infinite compassion for yourself. Infinite compassion for yourself. I have found that allowing myself to do that when I'm feeling bad opens the door again, right? Whatever's blocking the door, whatever's making it shut, infinite compassion for yourself. I can't say, I suppose each one of us has a different way of expressing that. That's my way. I really connect to that, right? There are places inside of me that hurt. Places I still carry around from when I was a kid. I don't even know that they're there. And then all of a sudden one day something happens and I go, oh my God, I didn't even realize that I had that inside of me. Infinite compassion for those places inside that are still hurting. That's how we get to release them. Because that's the other side of this, right? We build up our consciousness, but we also need to let go of the things that are in our consciousness that block us from opening the door. Whatever's in front of that door, gotta remove it. And sometimes we do what's called a spiritual bypass. We pretend it's not there. If I'm just more peaceful and I focus on more peace. It is true that the more you focus on peace, you expand your concept of peace, right? But it is also true, in a purely practical sense, that we carry those things inside. We gotta learn how to let them go, right? And this teaching will help with that also. One note about that. For those of you who are newer here, you hear us talking about practitioners and all of that kind of stuff. Yes, there are some of us who have studied this teaching deeply. We have not just studied, but practiced it and proven that we truly understand it at a deeper level. And we've been acknowledged to have done that, and so we have a license. Right? I sometimes laugh at a license to do what? It's a license in consciousness. It's a recognition. And a number of us are practitioners. And one of the things that we do as practitioners, we are available. When you may not yet know how to use this teaching, we can help you, right? We can pray for you until you know how to do it yourself, right? And we can also coach you in what's your best growth opportunity to move into a greater consciousness. So just be aware that we're there, and you can approach any practitioner and say, hey, I need help on this. And they will be there for you, right? This is an important thing to remember. That's what we are as practitioners. So, I wanted to tell a story. And I'm going to tell the story because the time is getting there. So there's a man named Joseph, and he wanted more. He wanted more money, he wanted more power. He prayed, and nothing happened. And he got really angry at God. And he went to his rabbi and he said, how come God never answers my prayer? Don't I deserve to be rich? Why does God keep me poor? And the rabbi said, oh, these are difficult questions. I'm not wise enough to answer you, but I know someone who can. Who's that? Joseph asked. His name is Rabbi Zusha, and he lives a very far distance from here, so I doubt you'll want to travel that far to answer your question. But Joseph was determined and decided to make the trip. So for days, he walked, sleeping by the side of the road, and then finally, he reached the village where Reb Zusha lived, and he looked for the biggest house in the town because he thought, oh, if Reb Zusha knows how to teach me to have more money and more power, he must be the most powerful man in the village. So he looked for the biggest house. But unfortunately, it was a very small and very poor village, and there were no big houses. So Joseph was really confused, and he asked the first person that passed, and he said, where can I find Reb Zusha? He probably lives in a castle, the really big house that was on the top of the hill. And the man said, there's no house like that in this town, but I know where Reb Zusha lives. He lives right there. And the man pointed to the smallest and poorest house in the village. And Joseph said, that's got to be wrong. Okay, thank you so much. I'll ask somebody else. So nobody else around. He goes to that small house and he knocks on the door. And a man comes to the door and he says, where can I find Reb Zusha's house? I'm Joseph and my rabbi sent me. And the man who answered the door said, oh yeah, I'm Reb Zusha's helper. I'm Moses. I'm sure Reb Zusha would love to meet you. So Joseph went in, totally confused, and there sitting on this rug that's sort of torn and really old, wearing old clothes, sat Reb Zusha. There must be some kind of mistake, said Joseph. You can't be Reb Zusha. I can't, he said. Last time I checked, I was. But we can talk about that later. My door is always open, and you are my guest. And I have to feed my guest. I have a guest. Moses, bring some food for Joseph. Oh, I'm sorry, Rabbi, said Moses. There's no food in the house. We haven't had food for days. No food? That's not possible. Never in my life have I wanted for anything. My door is always open. No one goes away hungry. And Joseph is sitting there thinking, what crazy house did I come into? This is nuts. Why did my rabbi send me here? And just at that moment, there was a knock at the door. And Moses went and opened the door, and there was a man standing outside holding trays of food and bread and pastries and fruit and meat and all sorts of things. And the man said, oh, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, Reb Zusha. I hope it's okay that I'm interrupting. But 9 months ago, you blessed my wife, and we have been blessed with a child. I'm so grateful. And something inside of me said, I have to bring an offering to Reb Zusha, and I have to do it right now. And Reb Zusha said to him, you haven't interrupted me. I knew you were coming because God sent Joseph to me. My door is always open, and Joseph is hungry, so there must be food. The food had to come from somewhere. And he turned to Joseph, and he said, you see, Joseph, God is fullness, always present. All you have to do is open your door. When you have faith, all the empty places are filled. Learn to keep the door of your mind and your heart open, God will fill it. And so from that point on, Joseph's life was totally changed, and he learned to always keep the door open. And so for me, I say, let's learn to keep the door open. Indeed. Right? Yes. And yet it'll shut again. The cat will come and go like that, and the door will close. Just open it again. How many times do you need to open the door? One more time and you close it. That's all. And so for me, this is what abundance is about. Living that conscious life of opening the door. Making space for that which is fully present to work through us, each one of us. And so from that place, thank you so much. Let's have some music.
Let's have some abundance.
Abundance.
Do I do this now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, everyone. This is where we exercise the law of circulation. We do not give because God needs the gift, but because the giving increases, broadens, and deepens the life of the giver. Yes. Nor shall we give from the standpoint of duty, The universe refuses to bargain with us. It has already given us everything it has. But it has also provided that the gift of life can be received in its fullness, only as it flows through us to the fullness of others. And so I'm going to pass this beautiful basket around. Many of us give online, on PayPal, so you may not give something today, and if you choose, you can just hold your hand over the basket and give this church a blessing to continue on its path. Thank you.
What this is our birthright surrounds us every day. Our consciousness can hold the thought of prosperity today. But the message is quite simple. Peace be unto you. It's all yours for the taking. I swear these words are true. Close your eyes. Let your mind be true. Let the joy of giving flow from God to you. Every day we get the chance to practice what we preach. It's not that hard, just speak your truth. It's all within your reach. Close your eyes. Let your mind be true. Let the joy of giving flow from God to you. Close your eyes. Let your mind be true. Let the joy of giving flow from God to you. And keep your door open.
Keep your door open. Increase your container.
I love those flies.
Spiritual practices, keep them moving. Okay, for those who'd like to give online, our website is www.cslprinceton.org. Enjoying gratitude, these gifts are accepted, knowing that the Center for Spiritual Living Princeton is guided, guarded, protected, and completely financially supported in all its activities. We are truly grateful. We thank you, we thank you, we thank you. Now we'll have closing treatment by our speaker of the day.
So, opening our door, being aware that we are surrounded, filled, protected, always, everywhere, by this one infinite presence. This is the truth I know for all who are participating and have participated, either physically or online. I know that this world is a world of blessing, infinite, living blessing. I know this. And since it is the entire world, I know that it is each one who has participated today. It is this meeting, it is these words that have been spoken. And so I declare that these words are rich with the divine blessing, and each one who has participated is now filled with that divine blessing. Each one's heart and mind has expanded to include a greater expression of the divine. And as each one goes out in the world, each one finds that their world is bigger, that their world is more filled with joy, with love, and with peace. And that this joy and love and peace is shared with everyone around each one and with the whole world. And so the world is blessed because each one is blessed. And I am blessed to know this truth. I'm truly grateful for it. I release it to the law, and I know that the law says yes, because the law can't say anything else. And so it is already created, this is already true, I release it, and so it is.
So it is.
Oh, God, got that.
Let's sing our
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Let's sing Amen. 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 Sing Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.